Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode here on the MIgardener channel. It's a little bit windy today, but I want to bring this episode to you because I think it's so important on the topic of self-sufficiency. Regardless of where you fall in the scale of self-sufficiency, it is so important to talk about grains. Grains are a very vital part of being self-sufficient and self-reliant. Whether you are completely self-sufficient and self-reliant, or whether you're just starting to work on the kind of the food chain portion, it is so important. Grains can be used as a food source. They're very filling, they're very hearty, they're a protein source, they're rich in iron and potassium and different minerals like that are vital to the daily diet. Another thing that is often overlooked about grains is the fact that they're used as animal feed. Animal feed is something that I think a lot of people I see overlooking. They say, oh, you know, we want to be self-reliant, but then they go to the feed store and buy chicken feed. That's not self-reliancy. And I think the more that you can supply on your own, the better off you can be. I know lots of people that can basically raise chickens for free, and they do that by growing grains. And there are two of my favorites, but the one of my favorites, the top one, is actually growing right here at Cindy's home. Cindy's dad is planting some, and I knew exactly what it was as soon as I saw it, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make a video on that because I have not yet grown it, because I really haven't had a reason to grow it, but I do hope to be growing some in the future. So one of your ancient grains is sorghum. Sorghum is a plant that is very often overlooked as a weed. It actually looks identical to corn. It grows very similar to corn. However, it does not require a lot of the things that corn requires, spacing being one of them. Sorghum is a grass type plant, so it actually is, it's in the same family as corn, and it actually looks identical to corn, except for the fact that when it comes to spacing, you can grow it very close together. Obviously here, it's not spread out, or it is kind of spread out, but that's just because it's tall and it gets these nice large, these nice large seed heads on it. So it does look great if you're looking to plant it kind of in like a front yard landscape. But one of the things that's so nice about it is the fact that sorghum has one of the highest protein to weight ratios of any of the grass crops. So if you're growing wheat, you should be growing sorghum instead. One of the downsides to sorghum though is that it is gluten-free. So because there's no gluten in it, your breads will all be flat. However, since it's an ancient grain, people have been making flatbread for a long time, and you're still gonna get the protein, you're just not gonna get the fluffiness that you would. But again, you can grow wheat and sorghum together and mix it. But sorghum is one that is so easy to grow. It does not use as much nutrients out of the soil, so it won't deplete the soil health that you would with wheat. And it also is very resilient to a lot of your other things, because wheat has been cultivated for thousands of years, and it's been not genetically modified, but it's been through genetic traits being specifically picked for drought tolerance or productivity. A lot of the hardiness has been bred out of it for just sheer production. And so a lot of times when you grow wheat, you don't get the production, and a lot of pests pick wheat versus some of your wild grains, like amaranth is another one, and sorghum. Those are my top two favorites. Another thing that a lot of people overlook is chicken feed. Like I said, chicken feed can be so many different types of grains, but they love sorghum. Sorghum is an awesome chicken feed, and since one seed produces this one plant that produces, you're talking hundreds, if not thousands of seed, you can produce a lot of chicken feed for your plants, or chicken feed for your chickens. Sorghum will only produce one seed head per plant, but the reason why I love it is because in comparison to like amaranth or wheat or anything like that, the amount that it produces per plant, you're going to get far more seed per plant than you would on any of those other plants. So one thing that I want to talk about in regards to growing sorghum is the fact that sorghum does not require a lot of your nutrients, like I said. When growing sorghum, you just want to focus on nitrogen, believe it or not. And a lot of times, basically by just mulching in the plants at the end of the year is going to replenish most of that nitrogen that's lost. So by simply chopping and dropping at the end of the year, by harvesting the seed heads, and then chopping and dropping the rest of the plant, it's going to fulfill most of the nitrogen requirements that the plant needs for the next year. So it's really great in that respect. Another thing that's really great is the fact that, oh, really quick though, if you do find that your nitrogen gets a little low, just simply apply something like a blood meal or some green grass clippings, let those break down, and sorghum will be able to grow there. It grows in some of the hardest soils to grow in because of the fact that it's an ancient grain. It's grown in so many different soil types and climate types, and so you'll find that it really is actually easier to grow than most of your other plants. The next thing that I wanted to talk about was sunlight. When it comes to growing sorghum, it is so important to make sure that you do get good sunlight. Because it's a grass, the more sun it gets, the more energy it can produce, meaning the more seed it can produce and the larger the seed heads are going to get. Now, the other thing that I did want to talk about is waiting for the sorghum to dry. Oftentimes, sorghum looks very dry. However, it is not yet dry. If I pull some off here and I show you what it looks like, this is actually green still. It has green chaff still on it. And you want to wait for the sorghum to completely dry. But one thing that you'll find that is a problem is the fact that in order to get it completely dry, also results in birds and other animals coming to feed on the sorghum because it's such a popular food source for many different animals. Even raccoons will eat it as well. So one thing that I find is very important to do is when it gets to about this stage here where it starts opening up and you basically can see it spreading out its seeds and it's basically starting to branch out, ready to drop its seed. It's opening up the surface area of those branches, ready to dry the seed out. You know, because up here's another one that's a little green. You'll see the color change too. Is kind of it's like an off greenish color, and when it dries, it begins to kind of turn into this kind of reddish brown color there, and the basically the seed heads will begin to spread out to get airflow through there to dry out. What you can do is you can actually chop off the top. Once it gets to about this stage, you can chop it off and just dry it on like a drying rack. And that way you're gonna get airflow underneath both sides. It's gonna dry the seed out because it actually is fully mature seed in its current state, but it's not dry. And if you store it like this, it's not going to store for months. It's going to store for a couple days before it starts getting moldy. And then you've lost all of your feed for the winter months and stuff, which I think is extremely important to talk about as well. So we're going to have a continued series on growing wild grains next year. I've already got it slated. I've already got the seed for it, and I'm really excited to do that. But I wanted to kind of just plant this seed, no pun intended, in your mind about wild grains, the importance of them and what they can do, because like I said, you can make bread with them, you can feed your animals with them, and also you know that you can plant them so much closer together than some of your other plants. And so it's extremely beneficial, it's extremely important, and I'd recommend trying it. If you want to give it a shot, you can find seeds pretty much anywhere online. From most feed stores, they'll sell like a sorghum. You can buy a sorghum blend. You can also buy like an ancient grains blend. But I would suggest trying it. Another thing that is worth giving a shot is placing it in an area where other stuff doesn't grow. Like I said, it's a very hardy plant, and I know a lot of times people will neglect a certain part of their lawn. Maybe they're trying to work on their soil quality or whatever, like, you know, just they're just kind of not planting stuff there because it's not ideal yet to grow other things. Throw some sorghum there, give it a shot, you know, because it's, like I said, it's a plant that's been growing for thousands of years, so it knows how to grow, and sometimes it just needs the soil and the water to make it happen. So give it the benefit of the doubt, give it a shot, and yeah. So hopefully you all enjoyed. Let me know if you've grown sorghum in the comments box below, and let me know how it ranks in comparison to some of your other grains. I don't have a whole lot more to talk about, to be honest. It's something that I saw that I thought would be really important to bring to you all, because I see so many people talking about self-sufficiency and self-reliance, but they never talk about ancient grains, and it just blows my mind as to why they don't, because they're so critical, and they've been grown for thousands of years for a reason, you know, otherwise they wouldn't be growing them. So anyways, I hope you all enjoyed. Hopefully you all are growing your ancient grains, and I'll talk to you all later. This is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you all to grow big or go home. See ya. Bye.